Hey guys. Um, so what I'm going to do today is record a little yin session that's going to connect us to the breath. And at the same time, it's also going to connect us to the foundations of mindfulness. So what happens when we connect to the breath is we calm our nervous system. So that's very calming for the nervous system. And at the same time, because we're bringing mindfulness to the breath, which is in the body, and mindfulness to sensations, we're also really practicing mindfulness. So I find, sometimes I don't want to do a very long sit, like a very long meditation. I feel like the body needs a little movement, or the body needs to be able to release and relax after too much movement or too much stress. And then a yin practice can be very helpful to give myself that physical nourishment in both the physical and the energy body through yin shapes. And at the same time, while I'm in those shapes, I can practice mindfulness of the breath and meditation, building a stronger practice, building more awareness, but also just simply calming the nervous system. Because as soon as we bring our attention to the breath, that's actually what happens. So, what I want you to do is come into a comfortable seated posture, and we're just going to begin with a couple of deep breaths. And we're going to do them by inhaling, inhaling again, and then exhaling in whatever way that comes naturally to you. So, that could be through the nose, that could be through the mouth. And I'll show you how that works. It's in and exhale. So I'm exaggerating it a little in the body so that you can see it in, in, and exhale. And then do that a couple of times on your own, with your own breath. And as you do that, just noticing how that feels. Already now calming the mind, calming the heart rate, calming the breath. So already so many benefits in just this. This helps us fill the lungs completely, empty the lungs completely. If you need a breath or two in between as you move through these, do that. We're going to do about 4 or 5 more of those. So this is a very simple practice. Continue as I speak. We take about 21 to 22,000 breaths a day. That's quite a lot. But most of those breaths, we don't really fill the lungs properly and completely. We also don't exhale fully, and this is helping us to do that. And imagine with each of those inhales, as you fill your lungs completely, you're actually inhaling more molecules than you would find on all the beaches, grains of sand on all the beaches of the world combined. So, knowing that, you can imagine what good, healthy breathing can do for you. Really very energizing. All right, let's do it one more time. So, in, in, and exhale. All right, so you may be wondering also why breath awareness is important at all. I mean, isn't breath something that just happens naturally? Do we really need to give it this extra attention? Well, the truth is, healthy breath is going to determine whether or not you're in survival mode or whether you're thriving. And we spend a lot of time actually in survival mode. I'm not going to get into that too much, but that's a whole nother workshop, which I'll record sometime soon as well. But what I mean is, we can recognize very quickly when we're in an altered breath state. So when we're in a stress response, or when our breath is very shallow or too fast. But we're not going to recognize this if we're never mindful of our breath. So practicing breath awareness can be very helpful also in daily life. If we do this in our yin practice or in our meditation, then we're going to start to notice that much more in daily life as well. And that can help us just to feel calmer, because our breath really is connected to our physical and our mental health as well. All right, what we're going to do. We did our three breath inhales and full exhales. And from there, we're going to settle into just a quick breath awareness meditation. So just rest the hands in the lap or onto the knees or thighs. Or if you would prefer to lie down for this, you can do that as well. And closing the eyes. Just notice that you're breathing. Noticing the movement of breath within the body. And see if you can let yourself rest in that breath awareness. And we're not going to be here too long. We're just tuning into the breath, tuning into the sensations of the breath, the feeling of the breath. As much as possible, that's natural breath. So you're not manipulating it or controlling it. And it's really a very general awareness of the breath, so not focused on any specific part of the body. Just the whole of that breathing experience. We're going to take just about a minute more here. Just tuning into the breath. Feeling the breathing body being breathed. So without any effort at all, that's all happening. Breath is moving. And then from here, flowing into our first yin shape, which is a wide-legged child's pose. So coming into a child's pose with the knees away from each other so that you can let the belly drop down in between the thighs and really let the belly hang. So I'm going to show you. You can see I have the knees out wide. I can fall forward into my child's pose shape. And if you want the support of cushions or bolsters, any of that, then you can use those. If you don't have them available, just stop the video for a moment, go get them, and then come back. And then come back into that child's pose shape. Then as you move from your breath awareness, very short meditation, into this child's pose, you're still in that state of mindful awareness of the breath. So even as you're moving and coming into child's pose and settling in, you're still resting in that breath awareness. And still sensing into the breath. And now I'm going to give you a couple of more specific questions for you to inquire into. And the first one is, where do you feel the breath here? As you're in this shape, where can you feel the movement of breath? We'll have about 5 minutes in this shape. I'll give you a couple of questions while we're here. Where do you feel the breath? And it's not about answering these questions, it's about being with the questions. So there's that mindfulness, that focus practice there, where you have a little task for the mind. You keep sort of mulling on that question, chewing on it. If you sit with it a little longer, maybe new perspectives or new answers arrive. Even if you think you know the answer, let yourself be with the question a little longer and see what arises. Where do you feel the breath here? So noticing, are you feeling that in the belly? Can you sense the movement of breath in the belly? Maybe also sensing that a little deeper into the pelvic bowl. Maybe feeling the movement of breath touching on the hips and the groin. May also be sensing into the lower back, feeling some movement there. Or maybe the middle back and the ribs, the rib cage. And we all have unique breath. So whatever you're feeling is perfect. Your breath brought you here, so it's working. And now, with this awareness of all this movement that's being created by the breath, just notice how healthy that must be for all those organs. So each inhale and each exhale massaging you from within. Noticing that. So the breath is not just about the lungs, it actually massages the heart, massages the diaphragm, the stomach, the intestines, and all the reproductive organs right down into the groin, pelvic bowl, the hips. And your mindfulness of the breath here, your presence with the breath and the body in this moment, is showing you all of that happening as it's happening. So feeling that now, and now, and now. Couple more breaths here. And then we're going to lift out of our child's pose and come onto all fours. And just move through a couple of cats and cows. So inhaling, hollow out the back and lift the gaze. And then exhaling round the spine and look in towards the belly button. And inhaling, hollowing out the back, lifting the gaze. Exhale around the spine and continue like that on your own breath. And if you want to add other movements, feel free. So maybe snaking the spine a little or moving the hips a little left to right. And then we're going to bring the right knee forward to the right hand and scoot the left leg back to come into a sleeping swan. So your legs are like this. Your right knee to the right side of the mat, your right foot to the left side of the mat, and then the left leg behind you. Stretch that leg out behind you. It's too hard for you. You can also bring your leg forward and come more into a fallen angel like this. And then from here, if you want to support the right hip, you can bring a cushion or blanket or a sweater underneath your right hip and then pull forward onto a bolster or right onto the floor to settle into your sleeping swan or your fallen angel, whatever you've chosen for today. Whatever your choice. See if you can tune into where you're feeling this. So if you're in a sleeping swan, you're probably going to be feeling the right glute outside of the thigh, buttocks. You don't want to be feeling either of the knees, so always be careful with the knees. And if you're in a fallen angel, the sensations may be a little more subtle. But what we're looking for doesn't even have to be a physical sensation. It could be something more emotional that's arising for you. You're going to direct your attention towards what is most intense in your experience here, whether physical or in some other way. And you're going to direct your inhale to that. Imagine the inhale being guided in like beautiful, clear, luminous light. And with the exhale, you just imagine a cleansing, a clearing of that intensity. So there's a light visualization practice here, a concentration practice. Inhaling, directing the breath towards where you feel this most. Exhale, letting that breath cleanse and clear whatever intensity you're feeling, whether physical or maybe emotional. And it doesn't have to be super intense. It can be very subtle even. And this visualization practice is a meditation practice. And you may find as you're doing this, if you are a visually inclined person, you may find colors coming to mind as well to accompany that light. So you can let that happen. If you feel like your clearing, cleansing light has a color, let it. And we're going to stay here a couple of minutes. Up to you to keep the mind focused here. Now remember, in our child's pose, we felt how the breath reaches down into that hip space. into the lower back, into those lower regions of the body. So, especially if you're in that swan, you know that it's not just a visualization, it's not just a fantasy that the breath is reaching down into these parts of the body. You know, it's also physical, but you're adding that visualization. About another minute, check that you're still with that practice, with that visualization. Just a few more breaths here. Inhaling, guiding the breath towards where you're feeling this, really sensing it. Letting that breath be light and clear and cleansing, and exhaling, letting that breath rinse through those sensations, clear up any blockages. And then with your next inhale, you can lift yourself out of this and come and lie on your belly, or if you prefer, you could be in a child's pose or on your side. And let's move right into this rebound. So resist the urge to move around too much. Come out of this and just notice what it's like to come out of that shape. And so feeling what happens when we leave these shapes is just as interesting as when we're in them, especially when we choose the intenser shapes, postures. So still there's that mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the breath here. The whole practice an opportunity to be present with the breath and an opportunity to calm the nervous system, calm the heart, the mind, and to practice mindfulness. And then when you're ready, you can come back onto all fours. And this time you bring the left knee forward to the left hand. You bring the left foot out to the right side of the mat. And you scoot the right leg behind you for your sleeping swan. You may want to bring a cushion underneath the left hip, glute, or maybe even something underneath the right knee if that's sensitive. And then settling in, fall forward, maybe falling onto your bolster or something else, a cushion. And settle into the same shape on the other side. And as we come into this, let's take another 3 inhales like we did at the very beginning of our practice. So inhale, 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 and exhale completely. Do that again. And last time. And now once again, just like on the right side, we're going to let the inhale guide us in towards where we're feeling this, sensing this most. If you want, still envisioning that like a light, like a river of light moving towards where you feel this. This time on the exhale, you're going to smile. Just smile towards where you're feeling. And it's not like a crazy joker kind of smile. It's an inner smile. It's like a smiling heart, a smile coming from the heart. It's a contentment. I'm sending that contented energy towards where you're feeling it. So inhaling, letting the breath guide you towards where you're sensing and feeling this. And exhaling, smiling. So smiling like breath awareness calms the nervous system. And now you're actually combining these two little magic tricks of contentment, of calm, and bringing that into that practice. And again, we have about 5 minutes on this side. So up to you to be with this practice. Practicing Balinese meditation, that's just to smile. About 2 more minutes. Practicing breath awareness, practicing mindfulness, practicing concentration. Couple more breaths here. And then when you're ready, you can come out of this and once again, either onto the belly or into a child's pose to rebound there. And let yourself feel what it's like to come out of that. So rather than shaking out sensations or trying to get rid of whatever you're feeling as you come out of this, there's that opportunity again for mindfulness of the body, awareness of breath. Makes your practice so much more interesting when we give the same attention to the in-between shapes as to the actual postures. And the beauty when we bring this into our practice, this awareness of each moment, is that we teach ourselves to find that same presence in daily life. Instead of running from highlight to highlight, we see the beauty in the passing moments too. And then from here, you can come to a seated shape and bring the legs out wide. As you can see, I'm on a little cushion. I like to sit just a little elevated when I bring the legs out wide like this. If you need some extra support, you could bring something underneath the knees. If you need that, you may not need that. And then from here, you're going to fold forward, fall forward as much as you can. You want to be feeling the insides of the legs. So the yin shapes I've chosen for our practice today are connected to the liver meridians and the gallbladder meridians. And these, when balanced, we feel patient and compassionate. When not so balanced, there may be some agitation or irritation. And I chose this because I feel like breath awareness actually really helps us in the practice of patience. And patience is a practice. I spoke earlier on the perfections, the paramitas. And one of the perfections is actually the perfection of patience. And I find awareness of breath helps us a lot here. But that's also a topic for another workshop. All right. Okay, coming into your dragonfly, so the legs out wide and folding forward. Use your props if you want to support the head. Or you can also rest the rest the head in the hands. And while we're here, we're going to practice Anapana, which you know very well. So just bringing the awareness to the nostrils and sensing the breath there. Tuning in absolutely and completely to that tiny little part of the body. And noticing how the air becomes breath as it comes into the nostrils. How the breath becomes air as it leaves the nostrils, and noticing how all of that feels, what there is to be felt. Fully present in each moment, each passing moment. So feeling now and now and now. And remember, as much as possible, it's natural breath. So not controlling it, not manipulating it. Fully focused. And just like in our inquiries, when we have a question to be with, it's not so much about finding the right answer. It's not about what you should be feeling. It's about being with the question, being with that curiosity, watching that breath as though you'd never noticed it before. There can be a sense of wonder and awe. Just right there in the nostrils, maybe a tiny bit of the upper lip. Feeling inhale, feeling exhale. Another couple of minutes here. Check that you're still present, fully focused, but gentle, soft focus. You're witnessing, observing, not controlling the breath as it moves in and out through the nostrils while you're in this dragonfly shape. Taking one more deep breath here. Exhaling completely. And then use your inhale to lift up and out of this. And you can bend the knees, hook the hands behind the knees, and roll onto your back. And we're going to move right into reclining twists here. So if you want, you can cross one leg over the other. Kind of depends on your hips and your anatomy, how this is going to feel. Otherwise, you leave the legs next to each other. Let them both fall out to the right. Maybe you would want to put a cushion underneath the legs or in between the legs. And then the arms come out wide and you look over the opposite shoulders so that your spine is in a reclining twist. I'll show you what it looks like in case there is some confusion. Legs out to one side and then look the other way. All right. Now our practice here is again a couple of questions. So as you sit with the questions, it's not about finding an answer, it's about being present with that question and about being present with the breath. So the first question is your breath fast or slow? Just tuning in. Does it feel fast or slow? And being in a twisted shape, by the way, can affect the breath. It can be difficult to breathe in a twist, but of all the twists, a reclining twist is usually the most comfortable to breathe in. And I'm saying this so that if you do notice some tension or some difficulty in the breathing, perfectly normal. With this question, is the breath fast or slow? You just get to spend a little time with the breath, with that breath awareness, with that body awareness. And the second question in this shape on this side is, do you feel like the breath is shallow or deep? So what's the depth of the breath? Not to get it right or wrong, not about the answers. It's a contemplation, it's a concentration practice, a meditation, and at the same time, a breath awareness, mindfulness of the body and the breath. Teaching ourselves to be present and calming the nervous system. A couple more breaths here. Noticing the depth of the breath. And then you can transition to the same shape on the other side. Take a moment in the middle if you want, hugging the knees in maybe if you want that. But then you let both knees fall out to the left And look over the right shoulder. Settling in, maybe grabbing your props to prop the legs up a little. And then noticing the texture of the breath. So your breath awareness practice now, focusing on the texture, which means, does the breath flow smoothly? Does it feel ragged? How would you describe the texture of your breath? And then comparing your inhale and your exhale. So first, just comparing how they feel. How does the inhale feel? How does the exhale feel? Maybe you find them having certain energetic qualities, or maybe it's much more a physical comparison. Comparing inhale and exhale. You may notice a difference in length. Again, no right or wrong. It's just about being present. And see that you're still with that inquiry, comparing your inhale and your exhale. Just a minute or so here. And now you can bring the knees back to the center. Hug them in towards you. And hook the hands behind the knees and roll your way up to seated. We're going to end our practice with some Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. So come into a comfortable seat for that. If you want to support yourself, go ahead. You can come onto a cushion, or if you prefer to be on a chair, you could be on a chair, or you could also sit on your heels or straddle a cushion or a bolster. Okay, Nadi Shodhana is an ancient yogic practice that actually it sort of balances the left nostril and the right nostril, but also the left and the right brain hemispheres. So when we breathe during the day, every 30 minutes to 3 to 4 hours, we have a dominant nostril. So one of the nostrils is more dominant in the breath. And when we work with alternate nostril breathing, we create a sort of a balance there, and we hack the whole system and bring the brain and the breath fully into balance so that for the rest of the day we can have a clearer breath and a stronger concentration and focus, but also more ease with rest and sleep. The way I like to do this is I bring my right hand into this shape. So I have my thumb out, I bring my index finger and my middle finger in, and then I hook my ring finger behind my pinky. So that works for me. If that feels a little complicated for you, you can also use your index fingers and close the nostrils one by one, like this. And you don't have to push hard. There's a tiny little indentation here. And if you just put a tiny bit of pressure there on the nose, it's already enough to close the nose. You don't have to push very hard or really close the nostril. So I shouldn't see your noses moving away. So just a tiny bit of pressure with the thumb of the right hand or the index finger of the right hand onto the right nostril. And then we begin by breathing in through the left nostril. At the top of the inhale, you stop, you hold, and you switch sides. So you bring that ring finger up against the left nostril and then exhale through the right. Then you stay here and inhale through the right. At the top of the inhale, you switch sides and exhale left. Inhale left. Hold at the top of the inhale. Exhale right. Stay on the right. Inhale right. Hold and exhale left. Staying inhale left. Switch, exhale right. Inhale right. Switch, exhale left. Now continue on your own breath. After the exhale, you inhale on the same side. And after the inhale, you switch sides. So after exhale, you stay on the same side. And at the end of the inhale, you switch sides. Continuing about another minute each on our own. And as much as possible, again, natural breath, so it doesn't have to be a forceful breath or a heavy breath. And same breath as though you were just breathing normally. The only difference is that now you're closing the nostrils one by one. Do another full round. And then you end with an exhale on the left. And when you're done, you just rest the hands in the lap. Letting the breath return to natural breath through both nostrils. And then just like when we began, we're going to inhale, 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 and exhale completely. And again, in, exhale completely. Last time on your own, in, in, full exhale. And then from here, you can settle into your Shavasana. So coming to lie down just for a minute or two, or if you would like a longer Shavasana, you take that, just pause the video, set a little clock for yourself, a little timer. And for the purpose of this recorded practice, it's a short Shavasana, but you can always take a longer one. So your most comfortable resting position. And you don't need to focus on the breath anymore. You don't need to practice that breath awareness. You just rest. Rest the body, rest the mind. For the past hour, there has been deep concentration, strong focus. So now you rest. All right, begin to bring some movement back to the body. So wiggling the toes a little. Some movement into the hands and the fingers. Maybe little circles with the wrists and the ankles. And then come into a nice big stretch. Stretching completely, super long version of yourself. And then as you exhale, relax completely. And then come to seated. And you can place the hands on the heart, or if you prefer, you have your hands in prayer, whatever feels right for you. And take a moment to close the practice. Closing with gratitude, thanking yourself for having taken the time. And also dedicating any benefits that we may receive, all benefits that we may receive, so that all beings may find real peace and true happiness. Thank you so much for joining this practice, and I'll see you soon.